I'm Maya Sundermeyer, and I would like to welcome you to the latest episode of my blog series. So far, I have been able to share my own experiences with you guys on what it's like for me to live with Asperger syndrome. A second thing that I do is give my 2 cents on what's going on with autism in the media. A third area entails giving tips and advice to anybody inside the autism community and to their friends and their families and their peers and their mentors. And finally, I like to cover topics that I'm passionate about that are not autism related. And before I dive into tonight's main topic, what I'm going to do is mention that this is Autism Awareness Month. And in honor of it being Autism Awareness Month, what I would like to do is give a shout out to a video right here on YouTube. And this is a classic video where Susan Boyle, who stood in front of Simon Cowell and 2 other major judges during a episode of Britain's Got Talent. And this was when she blew them all away with her song, I Dreamed a Dream, despite the fact that they didn't want her on there because they thought she was ugly. Well, once again, she blew them away with her performance, and she became pretty well known with her personality. And she also was recently diagnosed with Asperger syndrome. It also turned out that there were people in her life that always thought that she had some sort of brain damage, and this was because she had a lack of oxygen at birth. Well, Susan Boyle is middle-aged, and she was, I don't know how many years old when she received her diagnosis. So please be sure to check out that performance because she's one of my favorite people, and that is an enjoyable video of mine, despite the fact that she has Asperger's or not. Now, what I would like to do is talk about my experiences of living with autism or Asperger syndrome, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm, quote, frustrated with my disability or being angry about being autistic. But I want to let you know that it just seems to be a social or societal barrier between the non-neurotypical and the neurotypical world. And let me give you an example, but first I'm going to give you a little story as metaphor. So last Monday morning, I was on my way to work, and I was sitting on the local mass transit system where I live on my way into work, when I happened to be sitting in front or behind a gentleman who was in front of me, and I happened to be coughing. Well, that coughing ended up driving him out of that seat and moving to another location. And I am going to let you guys know in a little bit why I decided to tell you that. So first and foremost, what I would like to do is mention what it's been like for me to try to interact with other neurotypicals outside the autism world. And one of the things that I have found is that whenever I invite people of my own kind to my parties, they are much more likely to be interested in showing up at my things, and they tend to be quite a bit sincere about it. However, whenever I invite people outside the autism community over to my house or to a park or anything else, they're much more reluctant to show up. I'll often get excuses, or other times these neurotypicals will completely shun my invitations without really giving me a reason why they can't come. And I think that's pretty sad because you would think that these people would get to know me, but they would rather stay away. And going back to my story where I was sitting at the bus in front of that guy and he backed away from me and he was scared of getting a cold, I seriously wonder why people who are neurotypicals refuse to come to my party. What do they expect, that autism is contagious or something? I don't think so. Or are they ashamed that I'm going to talk about the same topics? Or are they going to be too embarrassed because they don't know how to understand people in the autism community? And I think that's really common among the Asperger community, where we try to invite people to things and they just don't seem to be interested. And I think that's tragic because, again, with autism becoming such a well-known thing, or, with people thinking that they know me by now, that they would be a little more interested in that and realize about being around me that I'm not much a lesser of a person. But it's like, again, there's a social barrier in place which states that, yes, I can talk to these people, but that barrier tells us that I cannot have those privileges because I'm not normal or I don't fit in socially. And it breaks my heart. And it makes me want to strangle some of these people. So, anyway, if you have any questions or comments about what you have just talked about, please be sure to state below. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and share these on YouTube and on Twitter and your autism support groups and your schools. And also be sure to share this with your teens that are transitioning into adults. Until next time, I'm Maya Sundermeyer, and I'm signing off.